Dragon's Dogma. Alright, let's go. Ethan sets out to vanquish the dragon that took his heart, but every demon he battles, he loses more of his humanity. I have to say, this anime did take me a little bit getting used to, because it's the CG that kind of throws you for a bit of a wobble. This definitely harkens back to a mixture of Castlevania and Dark Souls game. Those kind of genres, you mix them in together and then you kind of tick all the needs that you have for great anime, including score, composition, great story, great adventure. I would say if you love anime, you're going to love this. So the 7 episodes are named after the 7 deadly sins, and the first one is Wrath. And the Wrath episode really sets up the revenge plot. We see Ethan lose his wife and the baby that was going to be his son or daughter, and we see him lose the orphan, like they was kind of raising, who had lost their own parents. And so this first episode gets you to like the characters and then just decimates your emotional feelings. You're like, oh my gosh, now that's a dark opening. And talking about the opening, I love how it's scored throughout each of the episodes. It's very epic in nature. When you get that rise, that swell in the orchestra music, you just know shit's gonna hit the fan. And when it hits it hard. I was taken back at the first kind of glance we had at the dragon, because the size of him is massive. Reminds me of the dragon from Lord of the Rings, well actually The Hobbit, but bigger than that. It just felt like it kind of, it was massive in size, and then when it got on the ground it wasn't as big. So I don't know about the scale of things there, but the fighting just showed how impressively powerful the dragon is. And at that time they had no chance. No one stood a chance at defeating this dragon or even harming it. And so you get that impending doom feeling in this first episode. So by the time of the end of the first episode, we know that they're called Arisen. We know they're not quite human. We know that he has a companion, and that he has this massive quest. So then that leads us into episode 2, which is Gluttony. This was one of my least favorite episodes, mostly because the CG on the ogre that they encounter just looks so wrong. It just didn't look great. Every time I saw the ogre move, I was taken out of the fact that I was watching an anime. I was less immersed because it just looked CG. It looked unreal. And when you're watching something fantastic like this, and it just removes you from that fantasy, you can get taken aback, and you can lose your kind of the flow of the immersion that you were in. Nevertheless, the Gluttony episode was very interesting because it cements you wanting to be on the side of Ethan, even though you see him still losing his humanity. The people that he encounters, man alive, these guys that are running the town, that are using the town's daughters as sacrifices to the ogre to control them to be gluttons themselves. Never before have I rooted so much for the death of these nasty people. And when it finally comes, when you see the battle, it's really fun. I say fun in a very gory way, but I loved how the action sequences are set up. The big fight, it feels like you're watching something like Attack on Titan because of the scale of the combination of little fighting man to giant ogre. The scale I think is fantastic. I also like the combination of between him and Hannah, who he's now given a name, Hannah, and you see how they are combining their fights. You get the sense that they've already had some adventure that doesn't just chronologically go from day to day, because they seem to have worked out ways they can do combinations together, like that sort of thing. I think they work it out. But you start seeing how powerful Hannah actually is because of the various types of, spells, embalming her arrows in flame, which the ogre obviously doesn't like. It's here we see one of the flashbacks that kind of draws us into the story more, giving more background story to Ethan. But the animation there is in 2D, and I quite like the 2D animation. And I thought, well, we could totally have had it if you were able to do it. Why didn't you just give us the normal animation we like? It's a weird thing that everybody seems to be infatuated with this 3D. I would have preferred 2D still, but that's just my personal preference. So episode 3 is Envy, and it does seem like as we deal with every deadly sin, each episode reveals more. It's like the monster of the episode. So every episode gets its unique monster. And in this one, we have a few. We have these weird goblins, and then we have the griffin, which is the main one. And along the way, they meet these two knights who, well, used to be part of the city guard, and then they're escorting the last remnants. This couple that are the last remnants from the city that's also been decimated, or this town that's been decimated by the dragon on his flight towards, just destroying everything. And so there's this one woman here that doesn't like how her husband hasn't shown that he is like this great warrior, or protecting her. And so she's definitely the flirty type and wants to have sex with everyone that can wield a sword better than her husband, I guess. And it's here we see our first bit of nudity, which took me back. I wasn't expecting it. You get nudity in anime, but I was just like, well, okay, they're really going for it in this anime. Anyway, the fight sequences there again just show us the partnership between Ethan and Hannah, and how they're just getting better and more proficient. They're ready. In episode 3, you see that they've worked out these combinations that works. I love the fight sequence in the sky, how they go about bringing this griffin down. But the story gets quite dark, and it does feel like it starts off dark. You lose the family, and I thought, oh, maybe they're going to give us, they're going to ease us into some of this, but no, it just keeps getting darker with the suicide and kill of this couple, which was so sad, almost Romeo and Juliet-esque, I guess. Just I was like, well, there was no need for that. And so again, it just comes back to the naming of each of those episodes, which is envy. Obviously, he was envious of his wife, who wanted to throw her love around to those that were strong warriors, and he was rage-filled when eventually he did. He didn't want to lose his wife. And you see what happens there at the end. And I was just like, whoa, this anime gets darker and darker. Episode 4 and 5 is Sloth and Greed. We have the main monsters are very cool. As we get into the meat of this anime, we have the Hydra, we have the Lich King. The Lich King definitely reminded me of a Dark Souls boss.
I remember.
Especially when you defeat the boss and then something else happens, you're going to defeat the boss the second time. Definitely Dragon's Dogma. There were moments where it feels like it's really harkening back to the RPG, kind of just nodding to the fans, which I really liked. We meet up again with the knights in episode 5. Episode 4 with the Hydra, we have those people addicted to drugs in the cave way up in the mountains, and Finn's fighting the Hydra. It's the first time we see him use the rage power, and he jumps left, right, and all over the place. And it does feel like that's pretty much the only time he uses it properly. Even when he encounters the dragon, which the whole last episode called Pride is about that dragon encounter, and the fighting is amazing. But we only see him go rage-filled and succumb to his rage at the end when his eyes go red and he's eating the heart. And it's then that's revealed that the whole time all Arisens actually become dragons if they fulfill their base need of revenge. It's like they're completing a spell. They go through the moments of humanity, completing all of those sins along the way with each episode, and then the fruition is that one dragon that has been living a hell the whole time, which is quite sad and dark, is released, and then a new one is born and goes into a little portal. I'm guessing that's going to be some time goes by, and he will come back out, which hopefully we will get a second season and see Hannah, now the protector of humans, hopefully training a few other humans along to defeat Ethan when he comes back and release him, and I guess the cycle will continue that way. The story I thought was very intriguing, and it keeps you hooked along the way, but there were definitely moments where I was like, can't he see what's happening? Can't he understand? So invested do you get, well, at least I was, that you are rooting for Ethan to figure out what is happening, how he's being used. Even when he was fighting that dragon, and the dragon fight sequences, especially the flight and the spinning, which I thought was awesome. By then I was really kind of invested, and I didn't care about the CG. I thought the dragon looked okay. And when it was spinning and coming down, I thought, that flight sequence is very cool. But you want Ethan to recognize what is happening here. You kind of get what's happening. You understand. By the time you reach that, there's going to be this twist that, there's much more to this dragon. Even the dragon's been telling him the whole time, you think this is just out of, I'm just doing this because he had a plan. There was a big reason. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. So do chat to me in the comments below. I'm going to give this, like I said at the beginning, an A. I think it deserves an A. It's good. The CG took me out of it a little bit, but it's definitely not the worst CG I've seen from Netflix anime. I can name a few, like Ghost in the Shell. But this I thought was pretty good. Yeah. Can't really complain. I think it did what it needed to. Let me know if you're a massive fan of the games. What did you think of the anime? Chat to me in the comments below, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.